red flag. So Realist has the names on there. If you scroll down on Realist, it also has the mortgage that was originally taken out. So if they borrowed $300,000 5 years ago, you can see that. That could be helpful because it's going to give you a ballpark on what they might owe on that first mortgage. Not that that's critical, but it's something I like to have in my notes. The other information that there's your first valuation. Realist has a range. I'm going to talk a lot about ranges. Realist will help you with that. That'll be like the first value add. Well, is there anything else in Realist that you guys pick off out of there that you find valuable? You guys usually get I print everything. So I printed Realist is where I start.
Sometimes I'll use the taxes.
Yeah,
just as
taxes. Getting to know, see the taxes, things comps. Like that. Is it in a trust? That'd be a good way. You'll know immediately if it's in a trust, unless it's inaccurate. So Realist is the first thing. Then I immediately go into the MLS, put the property address in there, and I'm looking for the previous MLS sheet. Okay, these people bought the house 5 years ago. It's on 123 Main in Eagle Glen. I want to see that. What's on there that could be valuable? Anyone? Okay, well, I'll see if I can help you. The previous MLS sheet will show when they bought it, how much they paid for it, who their agent was. That's always kind of interesting. People call me to sell their house, and I pull it up. I'm always anxious to see who sold it to them, right? And if it's me and I don't remember them, that's a problem. But more often than not, it's not. But it's good to know. But more importantly, what date would they pay for it? And then, right there in my mind, that helps me start leading down the path of what it might be worth. I know that if they paid fair market value was 300 6 years ago, those houses are in that 350, 375 category predominantly. And there's exceptions, but that gives me some good information. Realist, previous MLS sheet. Now, on there, when I pull up the previous MLS sheet, I also will hit the little icon that shows all MLS, like how many different times the house sold at different prices and all that. I always just like to look at that. It's just more kind of curious. So then we get into the valuation pieces. I immediately flip over. And if you guys watch me in my office, it's exactly what I do. Like if I know I've just got a seller lead, it's boom, Realist, previous MLS stuff. I'm not doing comps at this point. I'm going straight to Zillow. I want to print what Zillow has for them. Why? Zillow sucks. Why would you do that? Because the consumers think Zillow has value. You guys get that? So print Zillow. Realtor.com. I'm really surprised when I work with you guys how few of you skip that. Print what's on Realtor.com for a couple good reasons. The main reason, it has 3 digital valuation models. Did you guys know that? Okay, there's 3 in there. Now you have to go to page 3 of the 7 pages, but boom, and I forget what they're called, Quantarium, yada, 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 and yada, yada, yada. And they could be all over the place. But again, there's 3 more digital numbers, of which you'll be able to find out if they're good, bad, or indifferent. So with those 3, along with Realist, there's 4 at Zillow, the 3 on Realtor.com and Realist, there's 5 different things that have just helped you with digital pricing, okay? And I may not even need to refer to that. This could be a slam dunk one where it's an easy one to figure out, but I want to have my ducks in line. And then real quick, I'll go ahead and get the comps. If it's a 2-story in Eagle Glen, for example, it's a pretty standard area. I'll probably go back 12 months. I'll look at all the, again, I'm a dinosaur. I'll probably print the best dozen comps that help bracket the particular house that we're talking about. Some areas, as you guys know, it's really easy to get comps. In some areas, man, it's tough. I mean, Steve just mentioned a log home. I assume that's on acreage and maybe in the luxury price range. I'm going to go ahead and say there's not a lot of those that have sold. Would you guys agree? Anybody have anything to add to that? I typically, if it's a good lead, I may or may not know the house, but if it's anywhere in our area, I'm going to drive by it, usually the same day, because I'm curious. I want to see what it looks like from the curb. Does it look like it's in distress? Is the grass a foot long? Is it manicured perfectly where I know the pride of ownership is extremely high? Or is it just a normal house? Okay. All those things will help us immensely as we get into the process. So if you guys can kind of have those things together, then you have a good foundation to begin your work. But do not do any of this without asking the magic question. I yesterday had a meeting with some people that were in their late 80s. They're former customers of mine, live in a retirement area. They're down in Tony's zone. We've represented them years ago, and they're just fantastic. But comping their house could be tricky. So just before we were getting ready to leave, and I told them, hey, I'm going to go do my homework now that I've seen your house, yada, yada, yada. I said, do you mind me asking, do you have at least a ballpark idea of what you were hoping to get out of your house? Okay. And they immediately hit me with a range that I know is lower than what the house will sell for. So how easy is my job now? I'm not going to sit there and grind and stress and think when I present them a range, they're going to go, oh man, we were hoping for way more than that, right? So I've just taken the stress out of it completely. Who has anything to add to that?
I think I've said it 1,000 times, pre-listing questionnaire.
Yep.
And that has that question on it.
Yeah, there's so many ways to extract this information out of people. You can use the old, hey, I just happen to pull up Zillow. We don't really base a lot of what we do on Zillow, but Zillow says your house is worth 450. Just a general idea. Does that feel high, low, or about in the ballpark? And just shut up and listen. They'll tell you a lot if you let them do it. So there's a couple little tricks you can do. You can say, hey, I saw your neighbor 3 doors down sold their 2-story house back in the spring for 450. Do you know their house very well? How does it compare to yours? And just listen. And they'll go, oh my gosh, their house is so much nicer than ours. That they never say that, by the way. It's usually the opposite. Oh yeah, but we have this, that sort of thing. So that tells you their expectations are above the number for that house. You guys, does that all make sense? Things we've talked about? Any questions on that piece of it?
Hey, Lonnie,
Lonnie,
Tom.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just gonna add one thing is anyone in here, if we have any of the newer agents, you need to go, this is a master class on how to list a house right here. This is so valuable what Lonnie is sharing with us right now, because those are the things that I've been taught and do, and it is great. So even go back and listen to the recording when he's done. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, make your list. I've been doing this forever, and I still have this stupid list on my desk. But it just helps me go bang, 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 print, 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 dinosaur, print, print, print. Then I have it stuffed in a file. That same file has all my marketing stuff. It has the office's amazing numbers. It has all the listing docs in there, including the seller's disclosure and the utilities and that sort of thing. So just, we can make our life easier. But I see this look on people's face and it's just like, hey, here's what these people want. What do you think? And I'm always like, what do you think? Before and they'll go, well, I don't know. And I go, well, send me what you got. And I can tell they haven't went through this process. So, but if I know myself, Nathan Priest, people have been doing this a long time. If you'll put the data together, we're happy to look at it. I don't think it's fair for us to go and have to go get this data. I think that's on you. Fair, Tom, right?
I think this is a big part of our job. I mean, this is us doing our homework. It's not just about, going out and finding clients is one thing, but I think this is a part of your job. And I've taken this class from you probably 3 or 4 times, Lonnie, over the years. And this is what I do to a T. And you can just, once you learn it, for people that are just doing it, and I think kind of Tom was speaking to this, you just walk through this and it starts to build, and you know where you're going to be, if you're going to have a struggle or if it's going to be a walk in the park with your people out there in that Windmill Estates. I just think it's an important part of the process. This is what we do. And this is why people call us, because they don't know.
So I think, Lonnie, something you do better than pretty much anybody I've ever seen is get in front of the objections before they even bring them up. I mean, you prepare them and talk to them about all this stuff before they even have the chance to object. So, I mean, it's very teamifying versus you presenting something, them countering back. I mean, that's been the big difference since I started doing a lot of the stuff you told me to do. It's almost easy. There's like, all right, yeah, we all agree.
Well, and I
that's the end of
think the
most of the
teamifying
conversations.
approach, Jake, like you're saying, is they buy into that process. Your clients buy into that process. You know, it's like the other day, Lonnie had put something on Facebook about, share your pictures with them before you post them, share your description before you post it. It really takes, I mean, this sounds like a chicken thing, but I mean, it's like it's not just me with a crystal ball doing my thing trying to figure it out. You're a part of this process, clients. Yes, I'm here to help you, guide you, and assist you in every way I can, but this is our job. This is what we do.
Yeah, I mean, it is our job, and we get to decide how we want to go about doing it. We can do it with a ton of stress and strain, or we can take just a few smart steps to make the process a lot easier on ourselves. There's nothing worse than going into somebody's kitchen, looking at their house, and just being stressed out. Do the prep work, have an idea of the general range for the house. So I've done all of this, and then boom, I'm setting the appointment. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I'm going to be by, see your house in Eagle Glen, meet you about 4 o'clock. Just so you know, when I'm there, don't worry about picking up, cleaning up. I'm looking past all that. I'm not there to show it today or buy it. They'll usually laugh. And I said, so I've been doing this a while. I can look past all that, but that lets me see the house, get an idea of updates and general condition and so on and so forth. And then from there, that will let me go back to my office and do my real work. Because now that once I've seen your house, I can then go in, dig through data, of which I've already looked at in most cases. But then it's easier for me to pick out the data and make comments and all that. And so within 24 hours, look for an email from me. I'm going to have a link in there, which I think you'll find interesting. I'm going to show you houses that are active on the market, which would be potential competition. I'm going to show you pending sales, which means under contract. These are success stories, most recent success story we have is a pending sale. Then I'm going to also show you various pieces of sold data. And those are people that obviously hit the finish line with a closed transaction. And all of that data combined will lead us down a path of what the range for the house looks like. And what I usually like to do is tell people what I think the ideal range for their house is. And if they have a nice home and they're not in a big rush, we usually are going to set it at or near the top of the range and let the market tell us we can't get it. Again, did I just say we again about 5 times? We. Okay. And people just love that. They're like, oh, that's great. Well, I'll be looking for your email. And so you do all of that. And then you go back to the office and you do the work. And at that point, I've seen their house. I probably already have a really good idea of what it's worth. I've looked at the comps. I now know of the 12 I printed, which 4 or 5 I want to put in this link. Sometimes I'll put a lot of data out there because some houses need more data. Some are just so slam dunk that 4, 5, 6 pieces of data tell the story, right? If you guys have unique acreages and rural areas, sometimes you got to go in broader ranges and things. So more data is going to be a good idea. You give me a 3-2 in Foxhaven split foyer plan. They're just so popular. I don't need 50 of those, right? I just need the ones that are in similar condition to the one that I have coming on the market. So sometimes the job is easy, sometimes it's not. But then in that email that I send the client, I'm like, hey, thank you guys again for having me over. I'm looking forward to us working together. Teamified it, didn't I? Working together, not you hiring me, working together. What I've enclosed in this link is the data that we discussed. And please review this. I have photography there so you can look through these houses, many of which you'll know because they're your neighbors. And then the next paragraph is, in summary, what I see is the ideal range for the house is 330 to 350. Your home, I think, should probably be listed a suggested list price of around 350. By the way, I'll sometimes say around just in case they're like, we really want to start at 360. We're not going to hire you. Around, just in case they want to go a little above my range. And if I think that they're going to want to go above really where they need to be, see, I'll add in there, I'm not scared of a little higher entry price, but I don't think we want to spend a lot of time at the price above 350. If we aren't seeing some activity in a couple of weeks, we probably need to move within this range. So please look through this. Let me know what you think. And then they'll look through it and they'll immediately circle back. Yeah, this data is pretty good. I totally get it. Yeah, we'd like to be at the top of that range. And sometimes they'll even say, would you be upset if we just tried 355? even for a couple weeks. And I go, not at all, not at all. If they want to do something crazy, like 375, I'll remind them, hey, this is your property, it's your asset. I'm going to run the play you want to run. But what I have found is doing this, we'll see that will be extended marketing times because we're fishing above the market for a while. And if we go at that price, let's be very strategic in getting it down until we get into the sweet spot of the kill zone for this thing. If I don't think they'll do that, then you have to start asking yourself whether it's a listing that you want. So real simple, boom, here's my range. Here's what my thoughts are. Take a look at it. Give me some feedback. And within a day, they usually are giving you the feedback and okay, that looks good. And then you just, from there, I usually will set a follow-up appointment to go ahead and stop by the house and map everything out for them. When do we want to launch in the pre-MLS, all those things. If somebody's good to go on my first meeting, I'll go on and start down that path. But I've almost always found that it's 2 meetings for me for a listing. Some of you guys that can do it in one, and there are situations we do it in one, but don't be afraid to meet somebody twice, right? I mean, we're getting paid on average, $9, $10, $12,000. I think meeting them twice is fair. So that's my process that I like to use. One of the questions that I get all the time is, well, what should that range be? Should it be like 10,000, 15,000, or 25,000? So obviously the key component there is scarcity. If it is a Fox Haven split entry, I bet the range doesn't need to be more than 15,000 from high to low. Okay, as generally speaking, as the price goes up, that range may need to be a little bit larger. If it's unique properties, the range could be as much as 10, 15, even 20%. It is not uncommon that I'll tell people 500 to 550. Let's start at 550 and let the market tell us we can't get it. If we need to move down lower, we'll do that, but let's be patient because you guys deserve to extract as much money out of the market as possible. What comments do you guys have on some of that?
Hey, Lonnie, you got 30 people on here. So,
oh, good. Then we can start.
Yeah, we can start. We have 31 if we count Carrie sitting next to me over here.
Okay, good.
Part of that whole, everything you were saying there, Lonnie, part of that, it's not just for the seller. It's about your confidence also. Your confidence, like when it does get to the 8th month and you still haven't got it sold. You priced it right. You're confident you priced it right. They wanted to do something different, like my windmill experience. And so as you're defending yourself as you're going along, and you are teamifying it, because yes, we ended up there, but you can always reflect back. Remember, this is the initial paperwork I gave you. This is everything I gave you that said this is where we probably ought to start. And those 2 offers we did get, we're in that range. Mm-hmm. So it just gives you confidence. If you're doing everything you're talking about doing, you just build confidence as you keep going.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Who else? It's like anything else. It's just a matter of time. And the more you do these things, the better you get at it. And this business is about a skill set. And if anybody thinks they can walk in and have a 10 out of 10 skill set, they're wrong. You're only going to get that over doing this over time. You'll make some mistakes. You'll forget to ask them what they think the house is worth. So you'll spend the whole weekend stressing out on comps. But once you do that once, you won't do it. You won't do it again. You'll take the easier path and make your life easier. So as we get into seller listings and things like that, if you guys need help or just want confirmation on these things, that's what I would need to see to be able to help you with that. Again, is that data, those comps. You get me that, and I can eyeball it. By the way, I'm no smarter than anybody else, but I do have a decent skill set as to what this data is telling me. Okay. So anyway, okay, let's go to part 2 for lack of a better term. Buyers and sellers, and the word teamifies come up a bunch, and that's something I wanted to really harp on. This works for buyers and sellers. Is the us we thing has to be part of your conversation. In fact, that's all I would say. Is everything is a joint effort. And I tell sellers this all the time, and they love it. And because they get freaked out about, hey, what if somebody comes in and rips our house apart upon inspection? And I said, you know what? So if that happens, I'll see to it that we're treated fairly. And I know what fairly is in the marketplace for a house like yours. And if the people won't treat us fairly, we may have to pat them on the back and send them down their path. And I'm willing to do that if I don't think someone's treating us fairly. People love that, okay? On the buyer side, it's the same conversation. Hey, we're going to look at Christian's talking to some buyers. We're going to be out looking at houses. We're going to make an offer. We're going to contract the house. All that's fine. We're going to do inspections. And if things come up on there, we may have to propose repairs. And if a seller won't play ball and treat us fairly, we may have to walk away and begin the process again. So can you see the value in that versus commission breath agent? It's a completely different presentation. They feel like you're on their side from day one. Anything to add to that?
Yeah.
I always say, Lonnie, I feel like there's two questions for sure that I have to answer for people when I meet with them. One is, can they trust me? And two is, do I know what I'm doing? Right? And then if I can throw in a third, I care about you, then I'm probably going to get it. So.
Yeah. I totally agree with that, and we'll even go as far as saying, look, we're really fortunate. We have a very successful business, not attached to the outcome on any given sale. If it doesn't meet our needs, then we move on and we will find somebody else that will treat us fairly and things like that, versus the desperate agent, commission breath, and all that kind of stuff. And, is it a little bit sales pitchy? Well, maybe. But at the end of the day, I do feel that way. And if somebody's trying to completely take advantage of my people, I have no problem, tapping out or at least calling them to the mat. By the way, half the time these people make these crazy proposals, they're not expecting you to bite on most of it. I'll call the agent and go, hey, just out of curiosity, maybe these people would be a better fit for a new home. Not my 30-year-old home, because this is this expectation isn't even reasonable. And that's where the agent will go, I know. They just insisted on me putting this together, Lonnie. They called me and said, Jenny, we need these 18 things, even though I told them that that's really not a reasonable expectation. Well, that's good to know. It wasn't an ultimatum. So then I meet with my people and go, hey, there's 18 things on here. Don't get spooked. Already talked to the agent. We're going to propose back to them what we think is fair in the marketplace. And if they won't do business with us in the proper manner, then we'll let them go. Anybody else?
Well, on that deal, Lonnie, what I like to do as the buyer's agent, and I'm filling out, even if my buyer wants 18 things on there and I can't get them to not, I do ask them to put them in priority order. What's the highest priority? And we put them in order. And then that way, when I share it to the listing agent, I can go, hey, these are what they're asking for in their priority order. So maybe if they take care of the top 3 and we let the other 15 go, that might be a win, for them, and we can hold it together. So that's been super helpful for me when filling out those resolutions and asking for repairs.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole conversation is all about expectations. And, for me, a lot of you guys use buyers like checklist. Here's what the process is going to look like. Sometimes some of you people are doing the same thing on the seller side. But what my conversation looks like is we're launching the listing. I'll let them know, okay, we're excited. Photographer will be here. Then we go live this date. Now what? Here's what that looks like. And I'll prepare them. Hey, the showing process is this. You'll be our text contact. You're going to get a text. You simply approve or decline. If you're having a problem, just immediately reach out with me. We can help diffuse your stress a little bit, because I know you getting the kids out of the house, everything makes you a little nervous. We can put this on 30-minute windows versus an hour. That'll make your life a little bit easier, because we are asking you to leave. If there's time of day that you can't have the house shown, please let me know. We'll always be able to modify this. Most of the time, we don't start any showings until 10 a.m. and typically our last appointment window is at 7 to 7:30. So, by the way, in the winter, sometimes we curb that back because it's dark, right? So just explain those things, and then they're going to go, well, how many showings should I get? You guys all the time. I had an agent Monday come in my office. My guy seller's bitching and moaning because she's only had however many showings in the first week. And I'm like, okay, well, how many was everybody expecting? When you had your conversation around showings, what velocity were they expecting? Because that looks like one that would get 1 to 2 a week. So the conversation probably wasn't had or wasn't heard in that case. So a lot of times I always try to, again, give them cautious, conservative numbers and say, hey, houses like yours, what I find is they'll average 1 to 2 showings a week, but you could have a week where you have 4 or 5 and the next week have 0. But the averages usually play out. So do not get too overly excited or spooked by either extreme. And they'll laugh a little bit. And I said, I got this. My job is to monitor and interpret the market and what we see. It is completely random. You can try to guess what happened and all that kind of stuff. The reality is it's as almost random as it gets. So we're kind of setting the expectations for the number of showings. So if in the first week they just get 1 showing, I can go, yeah, remember we talked about this, that it can be a little bit sporadic. You could go 5 or 6 days with no showings and then have showings 3 days in a row. None of this surprises me. You don't have to deal with this every day. I do. And trust me, it is very difficult to predict. But I think some of us just immediately panic on number of showings. By the way, is a house in Eagle Glen for $400,000 going to get more showings than a house on 80 acres? It's a log home. Okay. The answer is obviously yes. Needle in a haystack buyer. So with those needle in a haystack houses, sometimes the number of showings is almost irrelevant because the buyer pool is so small. You have to just trust the eyeballs that are out there that will eventually catch somebody's attention. So really, really be careful with those unique properties, especially when you get in really rural areas, 2-bedroom houses that have a limited buyer pool. Anything that's really limiting in any way can really affect the number of showings. The showing process, I'm going to immediately go through that in more detail. Hey, 30-minute windows, you'll get a text. Here's what it looks like. Have the house ready. By the way, the agent will come in. They'll use our lockbox to get in. So it's a nice, secure system. When you get home, please check your doors. It is not uncommon for realtors to leave them open. I know that sounds terrible, but they're yapping about the house and whatever, and they sometimes will forget because that happens all the time. Realtors leave out. So now I've told my people to go home and check their house. You guys got that? That's a great conversation to prep so you don't get some freak out call about a slider door that didn't get locked. Tell them about feedback. Oh, go ahead, Brandy. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to ask, can we please, as someone who's been showing houses here lately, can we get a 1-hour showing window, please? Normally we're showing more than one house at a time and we've stacked them into tours. And so we never know, of course, when we're going to hit that house. It's going to be the 3rd one on a tour. And we're going to get there, just 5 minutes after that 30-minute showing window. Anyway, I know that's just buyer. Anybody else feel that, Christian? You're shaking your head. Yes. Okay, I'm not the only one.
No wonder you guys don't show my listings.
Well, we need an hour, please. Give us an hour because you never know. You're sometimes people love the house and they hang out more than 30 minutes even. So anyway, that's just a little. I see head shaking, so I know that's a
that's fair.
I tried to schedule the occupied properties first. If it's at all feasible, that way you can pretty much kind of stay on your timeline for at least the first couple, and then you have a lot of flexibility after that.
For sure, no doubt. If it works that way, absolutely, I'm with you on that.
Great.
Hey, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so if the house is not occupied, do you think we should go there after the day of showing just to make sure it's locked up? Should we be doing that for our sellers? Or if they're close by, do we say, hey, can you go back and check your doors? What do you feel like we should do there?
Yeah, I can honestly say I don't go back and do that. There's been rare occasion. Either the people are in town or a lot of times they have somebody looking out for the property, like a neighbor that takes out their garbage cans and all that stuff. I want to kind of limit myself as to all the different things that I need to be accountable to. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think, if it's like in my neighborhood, if it's a listing in my neighborhood and they specifically ask me if I could come, but I don't want to commit to that because I don't know what my future schedule looks like either. So, I'll ask them if they have a neighbor, and if worse comes to shove and it's down the street, I will do it, but I don't offer that up as a service.
Yep.
Okay.
So we can only do, but it's not like we had big storms come through a few weeks ago and I had a couple acreages and one of them, the lady lives in Washington And so I thought, probably not a bad idea. And both were vacant. It's probably not a bad idea for me to just be sure there's no trees down and stuff. So on my way into the office, I just drove by both, which was cool because then I was still in my car and I was able to call both sellers and go, hey, I don't know, you probably haven't heard because you're in wherever, but we had this massive storm. Good news, your property looks like it was relatively unaffected, but a lot of areas of Belton worked, that kind of thing. They love that. It's like you're going above and beyond.
Yeah.
But I think if you set the tone that after every showing, you're going to be there to go secure the house, then that's what you just signed up for. Next thing, feedback. Okay. Tell them what that looks like. Hey, these agents, when they show your house, they're going to get a really cool email from me saying, hey, thank you for showing 123 Main Street. If you wouldn't mind, we're going to make this really easy. Just fill out this feedback form so we can share this with the seller. And it talks about price, condition, and those sorts of things. And just let them know we make it so flippin' easy. A moron could do it. And we really love it when they do it timely. Then set the expectation that 50% of the agents won't do it, no matter what. It's just how they work. So don't let them stress out about the feedback. Let them know that we got this. We'll be monitoring this. And by the way, when you have somebody hot and heavy, they may or may not do the feedback. They're just going to call me and go, hey, everything working? This house is amazing, and that sort of thing. So, but do have a feedback conversation. Otherwise, you're going to get graded by how much the percentage of feedback you get. Okay. Also, let them know pricing on feedback. How many of you guys know you have an overpriced listing? And at the feedback, pricing, they're usually okay, about right, that kind of stuff. Either they just didn't take the time to think about it, or they don't want to hurt your feelings, or more often than not, they honestly don't know any better. Okay. But give yourself some grace there. Have a conversation. Hold on. Let them know what the process looks like the rest of the way. Hey, one of these showings is going to lead to an offer. Offer is going to come in. I'm going to review it, and I have a policy on my team. We speak to the lender before we present anything to you. So I'll have a pre-approval letter, and in most cases, I've actually talked to the lender as well to confirm the data before I waste your time. By the way, they love that because they know they're dealing with somebody that I've vetted versus just lob it out there to them. And let them know what that process looks like. Most of the time, guys, I'm going to scan this to you. I'm going to have a net sheet that shows your proceeds. If I think this is one you likely should counteroffer, I'll put a suggested counteroffer right next to it. So you have both of them right in front of your face. At the end of the day, it's your call to accept, decline, or counteroffer, and we'll just follow their lead. But we'll be able to discuss all the terms of the offer. And so let them know. Go ahead,
Lonnie,
please. Yeah.
Question. Do you share the whole contract with them or just the terms of the contract?
Yeah. No, the whole contract. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think we send the seller's disclosure that they signed, but the contract is in there. I don't know that they spend a lot of time looking at the contract because the net sheet's going to basically extrapolate all the data. If people throw in personal properties in the contract, I put it on the net sheet so nobody misses it. The warranties, closing date, possession, all that's on my net sheet. So the net sheet rules the roost, and that's why we use one at the time of listing. We have a nice net sheet so they've seen it before and they can relate to what that looks like. So offer, we eventually go to contract. What's the crazy inspection process look like? In most cases, it's a 10-day window. That's a default in our industry. If somebody doesn't treat us fairly, then we'll let them go. But it's the buyer pays for all those. Usually the seller doesn't know, well, what do I have to pay for? They don't pay for anything, right? It's the buyer can inspect whatever they were willing to pay for during that window. And then we hammer out things that'll take us to the next step of getting ourselves truly pending on the house. What else? Contingency. I would have a conversation with many sellers about contingency. My rule is this. Sure, we prefer not to have contingencies. The reality is, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, in your price range, the bulk of people buying cannot buy without selling their other home. But all contingencies are not created equal. And that's a canned line that I have written down that I've used constantly in my career. Not all contingencies are created equal. For example, Tom brings me an offer. His people haven't listed their house yet. But they're planning on listing it in the next couple of weeks, but they send me an offer of whatever. Christian brings an offer, boom, his people, contingent also, but their house just happens to be listed, under contract, and just passed inspections this past week. Big difference in those two? Yeah. Can we say night and day? Yeah. That's night and day. That's night and day. That's why you never say never on contingency. I need more information. Because agents call me all the time, like, would your people consider a contingency? And they expect me to answer that. And I'm like, guys, go ahead and just give me a little more information about the house. Where's it located? That sort of thing. How are they going to list it? What's it going to be priced at? Are you listing it? And then send me the data around it. They're in Raintree. What part of Raintree? Send me the comps so let me know so I can see if the people are even going to price it right. You see how different that is? And then the pending sales, are they post-inspection? Are they post-appraisal? Now, all those things are factored in whether the quality of contingency is high or low. Give me some feedback. Most of this is boilerplate.
I've had that same conversation with sellers multiple times. I've used it. I feel like I've stole your whole spiel on that. They use that same line and they're like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense on this to the sellers anyways. So that's
So on the buyer side of setting expectations, it's very similar. We try to bring a buyer in before we throw them in the car to have an initial consult to be sure we know what they're looking for. And at that time, usually we're going to want to set up an auto search. We're going to be sure they've done their pre-approval or that's working. Again, find your money before you find your house. That one's come up a few times. So we want them to get all that done. Again, hey, you're going to get an email. It's going to start keeping you posted of the houses in Raymore from 300 to 350 that are your price range with the bedrooms you insist on having. And then from there, that's going to send us down the path of what houses do we want to view. Let them know how urgent things need to be. If they're in a price range that's smoking hot, they want a $300,000 house in Lee Summit. How's that going to work? If something arrives Wednesday and they want to look at it Sunday, how do you think that's going to work?
Going to be gone.
Yeah, you're going to set an appointment you're never going to, most likely. Oh, guess what? It went pending on Friday. Shocker. Okay. So we need to have with buyers, you got to have a discussion as to the market that they're looking at. What's the sense of urgency need to be? You get somebody looking for, luxury acreages and things like that. The sense of urgency may be completely different. You guys get that because the buyer pool is so remote. So we have to be able to assess that. A lot of times what I'll say to them is, guys, the best houses typically go pretty fast in all price ranges. And I know the best houses are going to catch your eye. How flexible can you guys be to get an appointment with us to see these things when something arrives that really gets you ready to go? And then that's where they're like, well, I do have some days off. I could take an afternoon off to, jet out of the office. Or okay, that's what we want to hear. All really important. By the way, isn't that a lot better than you having to show them a house at 7 o'clock? I'd rather show it at 3. Just my 2 cents. So let them know pre-approval. Now our powder's dry. We're ready to look at houses. Let them know what that process looks like as far as showings. Ideally, don't show them one house. When you can show them 2 or 3, kind of cluster these things so you can work efficiently. I think that's just smart that we should be doing. And I would also tell people, and then people I don't think do this very often, because they're watching the market, they're seeing the houses come and go, and they're going, no, maybe, yes. Okay. No, maybe, yes. Okay. Do not let them know that just because it's the first house they physically went through, they've actually looked at 10, 12, 15, 20 homes online. So if they get all excited on the first house, because there are buyers that freak out a little bit, like, this is the first house I've been in and I love it and I want it. That doesn't surprise us. Okay. Because we have presented so many houses to you that it's not uncommon that one of the first houses you see is the one you want to buy. Give me some feedback on that.
That's a conversation, especially with my first-time home buyers. I have that with most of my first-time home buyers, if not all of them. I say, hey, it's not uncommon for us to write an offer on the very first house that we see. You've been looking at houses online for a while now, haven't you? And they're like, yeah, we've been looking for 6 months. So you probably kind of know what you like. And this is your favorite house because that's the one that we're going to go look at. So don't be afraid to write an offer on that first house. And that seemed to really calm them down because like, oh, well, we can't write an offer on the first house because we don't know what's out there. So if we get ahead of that objection, it's very simple. And that's helped overcome that objection a lot.
I have a client right now. I just told a listing agent, I said, if this would have been the 20th house that we've seen, they would have made an offer that day. Since it's the first house we've seen, we got to probably go see 20 before they come back to it. So, yeah.
Well, I think we definitely do need, it is worth it to set those, set the stage. We do this every day. How often do we see people buy houses? Some people buy them every 2 to 3 years, but then there's some people that only buy houses every 20 to 30 years. And so if we let them drive, they're going to drive us all over the place. And so I think by setting the expectations of this is how it works, this is how the process goes, let me lead you through it. That's definitely going to pay off in the end, rather than letting them and all their emotions and all their ideas and all their craziness just drive us all over the place looking at 82 houses.
Or their parents.
Well,
that's the parents are coaching. You've seen.
Yeah, the parents are coaching them. Like, don't buy the first house you've seen. You're right. They're and then they think they're doing their due diligence, or they think they're, that they're being smart because that's what their family told them. So
I would also try to approach the multi-offer conversation if they're in an area in a price range where that's possible or likely. We know sometimes that it's not only likely, it's going to happen. So I would spend quite a bit of time on that with those buyers that are in that arena, and let them know, due to the fact that so many people want a $300,000 house in Lee Summit, it is not uncommon. And even the expectation is we very likely won't get the first house that we chase. And we, again, just have to be okay with that. Sometimes people are willing to do things to acquire a house that it's very difficult for us to advise you to do. Again, I just teamified it. I made it clear I'm not attached to the commission. I'm attached to them. So it's just so their heart isn't broken, because some of you guys have had people that don't get the first house and they're literally ready to quit the whole process.
Yeah.
It's like, well, wait a minute. We talked about this. This is actually no surprise. So we got to have that conversation. Anybody have anything to add?
Yeah, I have another one I'll have with them where I'll tell them, say, I never want to come across salesy, and I'm never wanting to push anything on you, but I will let you know if there's a good deal. I'll try to kind of help guide you there. So if that ever comes across as pushy, just remember you guys hired me to help advise you guys in this process. I'm not trying to sell anything, but if I see a good deal, I'm like, hey, we should jump on that. And if I say that before we start looking at houses, I'll remind them of that. Say, hey, remember you guys, I'd let you know if we found a good deal. This house is a good deal. I think we should write an offer on it. Like, oh yeah, you did. And then they're kind of, they don't feel like I'm pushing it on them at that point.
Great. I like that. That's fantastic. Again, we want these people to have the best experience possible, to earn our almost 10,000 average GCI, but it's really about the future business, right? That deal is going to be nice. We'll cash that check, but it's about them looking back and feel like Jake looked out for their interests the whole time. And as they come across other people that are talking about getting an agent and hiring an agent or looking at houses, they're like, hey man, you should talk to the guy we used. Jake was really a good dude. He took care of us. He looked out for us. And, maybe it was a little bumpy and stuff, and these sellers were nuts, but man, we always felt like he had our back. I think he'd be a good fit. That's what we're looking for, guys. That's building a business and not living in the moment. We want to do less business with total strangers and more business with the people we've done business with before and the referrals from those people, right? That is good business. When my phone rings and I see it's a familiar face, like Irene Truman called me the other day and I saw her come up on my phone, but I was busy yapping. I was just like, man, I hope they're, doing well and they're both alive. And, and I'm like, sure enough, it was a listing meeting and his former client, it's a layup, right? That's what we want. We want more of those appointments. If you guys want to go into these programs where you're dealing with the general public, there's nothing wrong with that. Just know it's going to look a little different. Those people, there's not a lot of loyalty. No one sent them to you. It's just, you're going to have to deal with a different type of business. Anybody anything else to add as far as setting expectations, meeting expectations, that sort of thing? Okay. Best practices, one of the things we did talk about at team meeting and came up with one of our agents and a difficult seller is, I think I probably had more people comment on that of almost anything we've talked about, is what a good idea of having the seller proof your write-up on the house. having the seller proof your photography. Okay. Now just be prepared. They may rip apart what you're doing and you have to bite your lip, but that's okay. You just teamified it and it's worth it. You now have two major things they can't bitch and moan too much about. I got this one knucklehead that had 30 pictures and he sent me a message on what order he wanted them in. I was like, all right, we'll do that. So make that just your normal practice going forward. It will serve you very, very well. And sometimes they'll mention something, hey, the LB, that looks great, but is there a way you could mention, and it'll be something I forgot, okay? We have this really nice house with a sauna in it. And for some reason, I forgot to put sauna in my write-up because that's kind of a unique feature. It's kind of cool. And I'm like, dang, hey, thank you. I will add that. Yes, it's in your disclosure and all that, but let me add that. So they can help us in many cases with these kind of things.
And so, sometimes,
okay,
Lonnie,
go ahead,
hey,
please.
Lonnie, sometimes they may have some of their own pictures, like a sunset from their backyard or what their deck looks like lighted up at night. And so, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're totally good with that. So just a few big reminders. We don't talk about price as much as we talk about range. So again, we need to be talking about range. Hey, here's the range for your house. We're not an appraiser. We're not stuck where we have to come up with this number. By the way, when an appraiser just comes up with a number, assuming he's not looking at a contract, you just call him and say, hey, come appraise my house. And he comes up with a number, right? You think there wasn't a range there that he was looking at, like going, I'm going to bring this in at 450, but could have went maybe 440 to 460, picks the middle. That's how appraisers work too. It doesn't get them to a specific exact number in most cases. They find kind of a range that they need to land in, and they'll choose to go somewhere in that range. So we talk in ranges. Good conversations the last week or two about expireds and renewal conversation. Nothing is expiring. It's only up for renewal. Okay. That will also help you with on the buyer side. Should that occur, it doesn't seem like we have buyer agencies come up for renewal as much as we do seller listings. And if you take short-term seller listings, that renewal conversation will happen much faster. Okay. So think about that when you decide to do that. We talked about Teamify. There's never a you, it's only us and we in everything that you do. That's how you retain clients. That's how they stay in business with you, and so on and so forth. Another no, this is the what to do, what not to do conversation. Do not send offers in completely blind. It's a waste. It really puts you behind the eight ball. Even if you know you're the only offer, just sending it, not sending a message it's coming, not having a conversation around, what's best for the seller. Well, it's vacant, so they don't have to worry about that. It's still a good idea to have a conversation with the seller. I usually, from a buyer's standpoint, what I do, even if I know we're going to offer on it, I'll usually call them and go, hey, this house on at 123 Main, my folks really like it. And I would guess it's either their number 1 or 2 choice. Is there anything I need to know about the house? And just kind of be quiet. And sometimes they'll go, yeah, we've had 3 offers and got within a few thousand on each of them, but we couldn't quite put the deal together. That tells me nobody's offering full price. It also tells me their seller's been maybe kind of challenging to deal with. But just have some kind of conversation. I love it when people call me and just go, hey, what's the seller looking for? And I'm real honest. I'm like, hey, ideally, we would love to have about a 45-day escrow, and I want 2 days to move. So they'll go, what do you mean? You mean live in our house? Yeah, live in the house. Actually, we'll be moving, but we don't want to back up the Mayflower truck and haul our shit over to California until we know you guys have signed. And usually they giggle a little bit.
So what you're talking about there is teamifying, and we talk about teamifying with our clients, but also you can teamify with the other people involved with the transaction, the other agents you're working with, and that can only help as you come across certain speed bumps most transactions run into. Yeah.
Mandy Rowe literally just got a house for her client by having the right conversation with me. I mean, she probably would have got preferential treatment if we're being honest, but she insisted on asking the right questions. And the questions just were spot on. And I made it clear what was the most important thing. And it was timing of the transaction and having ample time to move. So they crushed it and said, hey, we're going to close on the date you want. And we're going to give you a whole week if you need it. All right. Done deal. Good job. It's your house. So listen to what's the most important thing to the seller. And it isn't always price. Price is just one component. No question about it. Again, on contingencies, never be rigid. No contingencies, not taking them. Really, you might want to ask more questions just to get more information. There are situations where, the contingency doesn't have to be 30 days. You can, when they just trying to sell you on it, and she's going, well, this thing is, the second it hits the market, it's going multiple offers and all that. Okay, cool. Then we wouldn't need a 30-day contingency, right, Jenny? And then they usually get quiet. And I'm like, well, let's put your money where your mouth is. We're going to give you a 7-day contingency. And that's what it's going to be if we're going to go contingent. You just told me you're going to sell it the first weekend, so that's not a problem, right? Just have a conversation around it. Really, really important. I hate when you guys get in dead contingencies where you've taken one and you're not in it very long and this isn't going to perform. And we've all done that. If you haven't done that, you will. But it's usually you just didn't ask the right questions from the get-go. More pro lines, find your money before you find your house. That's one we're talking about a lot lately. Teamify with, I will see to us that we are treated fairly, And that's a seller's fear of inspection, is that somebody's going to come and pick their house apart. And just say, yeah, people do that sometimes. It's just human nature. But that's where we will look at it collectively and we'll have a conversation around it. Did they find things that are valid? And here's how I look at these things, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If it's something valid and we let these people go, it's probably the same ground I'm going to have to chew with the next family. So why wouldn't we do it for these folks if it's legit? And understand, inspections will turn, even in the nicest homes, will turn up things you had no idea. You would have fixed it if you knew about it. So just take a deep breath, get the paper bag, and all will be well. But where we draw the line is if somebody's not going to treat us fairly. And I look at these all the time. I know what fairly is in your price range, and we'll have a conversation around that. Okay? It's not super, super difficult, I don't think. Anybody on anything to add along that we've talked about, and then I'll wrap up with one last thing. Good? Okay. So one of the things we're going to work as an office towards, and Brandy and Caesar and I had a challenge about this, is our conversation around this is the offices that have chosen to put a building in Cass County, obviously it's becoming a little imbalanced. You guys dominate the entire market, more sales than all of them combined. Okay, that's great. Stick our chest out. We do need to press that out there more, just for clarity. I have that with me on all appointments, by the way. My line, I'll just tell you, hey, you're hiring the top agent with the top office in your county. What exactly are you interviewing for? And just be quiet. Okay, that's. I try not to make it too difficult, but show them. And by the way, if you're not the top agent in our top office, then what are you? And let them know. Hey, by the way, I have a smaller business, but I'm very client focused. I work with people directly, not filtering down through some mega team and things like that. So it's a very personal experience. And by the way, here's what my office is doing in this county. These are the people that I work behind the scenes with to see that we do a great job for you. So now, why would they hire that big team? They now have this stud agent that's going to give them a personal experience. But where I'm going with this is we are going to tell our story better going forward. We're going to take some steps to put things out there to the general public. And here's the thing. You guys are the cool kids, not just with the number of sales, but you're the cool kids. We just have to let everybody know. We know it within our walls. We have a culture that's second to none. We have a group of people that look out for each other, support each other in their business. And some of that's hard to put out there to the public. But just know, anything we can do to show the public we're the cool kids will make your job easier when you're in those kind of meetings. Does that make sense? Does anybody have anything to add? All right, we're pushing 11. The last thing is, our goal for Southland is, and really it's our mission statement, is to help people build businesses. And if you want to have a business that sells 1 to 2 houses a year and just enjoy the ride, fantastic. If you want to be the person that wants to do 10, 20, 30 houses a year, fantastic. We are definitely the platform for people to do that. And the people on this call, and I'm just trying to think of almost everybody that's getting these awards. Guess where they built the skill set? Right here in our office. Scott Swaggart, Nathan Priest, Ryan Finn, I could just go on, and Sandy and and the people that have done it in the last year or two with Silas and Shelby and James McClay. And I don't want to leave anybody out, but my point is, we've got some people grabbing the thing and running with it and having amazing success. So let's just keep that. The market has helped nada in the last 3.5 years. It has all been on us to do this. And offices like ours, we're seeing them stair step down in profitability and sales. And our people are out there hustling. They're paddling under the water, and we're able to kind of fight the market a little bit. So it's pretty darn exciting. Anyway, does anybody have anything they want to close with? All right, we covered a lot of stuff. Most of it you've heard before, but guys, that's the meat and potatoes of the industry that you picked. So let's go sell some houses. Have a great day.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.